The time has come for me to reveal the secret team that has brought me up to the top 100 in the leaderboard in GBL in Season 9 in Pokemon Go. And here it is, Shadow Machamp, Lapras, and Shadow Hypno. Now this does look like a pretty standard line, but there's some wild spice going on in the back here. In fact, if you follow me on Twitter, I actually tweeted out before the Kanto Cup happened that I came up with the ultimate spice for the Kanto Cup. Spice that's so insane that either it'll boost me from 3200 straight to the top, or it would cause me to sink all the way down to ace because it was such a bad idea. It's so crazy. And that crazy idea ended up working out for me. I'm peaking at 3476 right now, top 100 in the leaderboard. Can't quite penetrate 3500 just yet, but the spice is Payback Shadow Machamp. Now that does sound insane, but in Kanto Cup here, the school is kind of ruled by Hypnos and Nidoqueens. And I discovered that Payback from a Shadow Machamp specifically, not no normal Machamp here, Shadow Machamp, can one-shot or nearly one-shot them. So if I'm using in the lead, and they lead with mean old Nidoqueen or Hypno, I gotta swap out. And there's always that chance in the end game, I can reach around, come back, and blast them out of existence with Payback. A Payback that they won't be expecting. Because Shadow Machamp? I mean, a normal Machamp, maybe, but Shadow Machamp? So yeah, that's been working out pretty well there. Now, if you don't have a Shadow Machamp with Payback right now, and you got some reservations on spending an Elite Charge TM on a Shadow Machamp with Payback, especially with December coming up next month, so you could just evolve it then anyways, I completely understand. And this line really doesn't use Payback all that often. I'd say like maybe 1 in every 10 matches I actually have a good opportunity to use Payback. Just straight Cross Chop is working out just fine. So a Shadow Machamp with the standard moveset Rock Slide Cross Chop should just be fine. And several of my patrons have been climbing to Legend with that exact moveset. Some of them have been subbing Machamp out here for a Primeape as well. So either option works. I'd say the line itself is pretty strong, but that extra flair, that unexpected Payback from a Shadow Machamp, pretty good. So the safe swap in this team here is going to be the Lapras. This is a normal Lapras using Ice Shard, Skull Bash, and Surf. Very powerful safe swap in this meta. If you don't have an Ice Shard Lapras, I think Water Gun is pretty powerful as well. I've been running into a lot of Water Gun Laprases and Water Gun Shadow Laprases, and they've been working out pretty good there. Looking at a lot of the different matchups and stuff, Water Gun doesn't flip things like negatively that often, and it can throw some people off. So something to think about there. And in the back, I have Shadow Hypno. Personally, I feel like normal Hypno works a lot better for this team because, glassy lead, 2 tanks in the back, pretty good idea. But Shadow Hypno is pretty glassy. Thing is, I don't have a good regular Hypno, and I already have this Shadow Hypno built, and I just need a Hypno for the most part, so Shadow Hypno it is. For Shadow Hypno here, I'm using Double Punch, Thunder Punch with the Fire Punch. You can also use Shadow Ball instead of the Fire Punch if you don't want to give that up. I like having the Fire Punch for the Sandshrews and Sand Slashes in the world, and I feel like it closes earlier on some Nidoqueens and more dire situations, so I've been appreciating it, but it could go either way, especially for a normal Machamp in the back. Some patrons of mine have actually even been using Focus Blast on their normal Hypnos in the back too, to great effect. So Hypno, man, it's a mystery box of chocolates. Not as crazy as Mew, but definitely a lot more affordable than Mew when it comes to the charge TMs, right? At any rate, I've said enough about this team. It's time to see it in action. Alright, so we have my first victim here, Elephant. I can't read that fast. And they're leading with a Hypno, the dreaded Hypno, my poor Machamp. And there you'll see that I threw a counter before swapping out. That's kind of like the magic of counter users versus Hypno leads that I really appreciate, is that you can sneak in that fast move before swapping out because it takes so long for the confusion damage to register. So I swap to my Lapras, and they respond by swapping to Chansey. And honestly, Chansey's rating pretty high on pvpoke.com, but I really don't have any faith in the dang thing in this cup. I feel like any battler worth their salt has a game plan for Chansey, and at the end of the day, especially with Chansey with shields up as like a safe swap option or a counter swap in this case, it's not really strong. I feel like more often than not, you're going to wind up giving your opponent a really big energy lead, and you're probably going to lose that swap anyways, so what's the point? I've only lost to 2 Chansey teams so far in my battles here. I think I've fought over 25 Chanseys at this point, and under both circumstances, I only lost to the Chanseys because I ate the big moves instead of the bait moves from the other Pokemon. So it wasn't even like Chansey that was doing stuff. I was just getting wrecked by their other Pokemon. Chansey just happened to be there. But I have zero faith in Chansey and Kanto Cup. Save your Stardust, save your time with the XL candies. So now that that's over with, mind you, these battles are sped up, so that's how long Chansey takes out of my life every time I have to fight it too, and whoop its ass. Yeah, they bring back in Lickitung, and here I am, big energy lead. I'm throwing surfs left and right. I've got, I think, double defense buffs going on right now, so those licks are doing like bare minimum damage to me. Basically setting my opponent up for a massive failure thanks to Chansey. So congratulations for running Chansey. I don't think it was a good idea, and now you're learning that it really wasn't a good idea. So yeah. So I bring in the Machamp basically to just eat a body slam from this thing because it's Hypno in the end game. I feel like my own Hypno is going to be able to dish out enough, and I can close this fight out on a cross chop rather than a payback. Basically, I've learned through using Payback Machamp so much that you don't want to make it too obvious that you are charging up to a payback or something, or you're just going to get farmed and look like an idiot when they shield it. So I'm playing on the safe side here. Sorry guys, no big payback blast to finish this fight off, but there will be some later on in this video. But yeah, Hypno v Hypno. I'm having a good go of it. I've got Thunder Punches, they've got Thunder Punches, they ain't landing no Shadow Ball on me. I don't even know if they have Shadow Ball, I really wasn't paying attention to the battle in front of me here. And then yeah, I just whip in the Machamp here, and I close it out with Cross Chop. Pretty easy game. Didn't even need it. And yeah, time up? What? Thanks Chansey. Thanks for being an asshole. I still won, so congrats Chansey. Good job, Chansey. I'm just so annoyed with these things. Like, I'm so high up that it takes like 10 minutes to 20 minutes to get a battle in, and then it's Chansey eating more time. So we got my next opponent here. We got the Copper Kid whipping out the dreaded Hypno. I sneak in my fast move. I swap to Lapras, like clockwork here, right? They're sticking it in. And what I found, what I like to do at least when it comes to this, is I don't like throwing surfs right away, because that's rock slide mentality, right? If you're throwing the surfs right away, you want to whittle that thing down as best as you can to maybe close it out later. I like to just keep going forward with the fast moves and maybe get shields from the next thing in, or set myself up better for the next Pokemon in. So yeah, there I was able to Skull Bash right away, so a Power Whip doesn't one-shot me, giving me a little bit more skin in the game to land more surfs or do even more damage against the Lickitung here, making it easier for Machamp to get some farm in and possibly reach the Omega Payback to just straight up delete that nearly full HP Hypno. Got the 1 HP right there. If you want to know what my Lapras' stats are, here they are on screen. They're not impressive at all. Basically raid caught IVs here. And yeah, farm it down. They're going to bring it back in the Hypno, and then I swap out immediately, because why would they want to take their chances against a Hypno, especially when they got Sandshrew in the back. The big Sandshrew ready to spam those dark type attacks on me, as it does. I got the Fire Punch. Very wise of them to shield that. I'm pretty sure it would one-shot at this range, but the ball is definitely in my court here. So I go for the KOing Fire Punch. Should I let it go? Yeah, of course I let it go. My opponent has no shields. I have my Machamp. They have no energy on their Hypno. So yeah, I farm down the poor little Sandshrew. I reach the massive payback. And this Hypno probably thinks it has it in the bag. And now they have to be faced with the reality that it is not in the bag. It is so far out of the bag. It was like it was never in the bag to begin with. But mentally, they thought it was in the bag. and that's why I love Payback Shadow Machamp. So we got another opponent here. They're leading in with Alolan Marowak. And the thing is Alolan Marowak is really dicey to deal with the Payback Shadow Machamp here, because Alolan Marowaks, for the most part, respect Machamps, because Machamps, they can have Rock Slide, and Rock Slide really hurts. So usually Alolan Marowaks don't like to take their chances when it comes to the Shadow Machamp here. Now unfortunately for me, they did get the defense drop with the Shadow Bone, and I don't want to burn both of my shields on Alolan Marowak, so I'm kind of set up for failure here in regards to the Alolan Marowak situation. It's pretty dire for me. And then because I am using the Ice Shard instead of the Water Gun, you know, I really don't have a whole lot of threats overall at the end of the day against the Alolan Marowak there. So this is why I feel like Water Gun Lapras could work out as an alternative option. So they bring in the Alolan Muck, and then I'm going for the Payback. Right now, I'm down and out, bottom of the 9th. A Payback landed would be a game 1, and my opponent shielded it, so it doesn't always work out. And man, at this point too, if I had the Shadow Ball, maybe it would work out, but they still have basically a full HP Alolan Muck in the back too, so this is kind of game over for me, guys. Don't know why I'm dragging it out. Maybe I'm praying my opponent like stubs their toe, drops their phone, battery dies, they get disconnected or something. You never know. At the end of the day, when you're trying to climb that leaderboard and you're fighting against lag and crazy good opponents all the time, sometimes you need a little bit of lady luck on your side to push you in a stronger direction. But not here, unfortunately. So these are the dangers. The Payback can work out really well. The Payback can also bite you in the ass. So be careful when going with this. For my next opponent here, showcasing a battle against ThoThetical. So pretty exciting to fight him. I was super excited. Leading in with the Mew. And one thing a lot of people don't know about Shadow Machamp versus Mew, but it's actually a really even matchup. Especially when you consider Mews potentially having bad IVs. It really does come down to the wire, CMP ties all over the place, and with just straight cross chop. So yeah, really good here. ThoThetical is at 1492 on his Mew, so bless him, he got the good Mew. But right now the matchup is basically playing out the way I expect it to against a Mew. We're just evenly matched, trading blows, trading shields. But he's going for the shield advantage. Smelling that, I swap to my Lapras and beautifully catch the Surf. So yeah, Mew, pretty predictable on the Surf there. Good matchup. It only gets kind of dicey when they sneak in, a Shadow Claw that you weren't expecting them to have, and now they're a little bit faster than you, so it can be annoying that way, but usually a pretty even match, and usually I can catch the Surfs off them. So here we got Blastoise v Lapras. Lapras generally has the advantage there because I reached Skull Bash sooner, but they were up a shield, so they're able to Skull Bash me. Fortunately, I reached the Surf to get some extra chip damage on them because honestly, Shadow Machamp ain't gonna be tanking a Hydro Cannon all that well. Even though Mew is down and out, my Machamp is basically down and out too. The Mew's just one tap damage. So here I bring back in Shadow Machamp, throw a Cross Chop on it, trying to get as much damage on it as I can to take it out, force it to use the Hydro Cannon and drain its energy, and then set up Hypno for the end game. And fortunately for me, the end game is an Alolan Sandslash. So I go for the Fire Punch. Fire Punch generally one-shots, but sometimes it can be a little IV dependent. Fortunately, my Hypno is a little bit attack weighted, and the game is done. Now, if you do want to watch this matchup from Tho's perspective, link in the description with the timestamp for Tho's video showcasing his team and his matchup against me. Turns out he made one critical error in that fight that could have gotten him the win. But when you make a mistake, you don't get the win. That's how it goes. So, pretty close, tight fight. I'm actually glad to finally fight and beat ThoThetical. I think for 2 seasons, I've been at like the 2997, and I'd be at 2-2, and he'd be the one to shut me down and keep me battling for like another 2 weeks trying to get the legend. So it's nice to get some payback there on ThoThetical, right? But no, good game. Now my next opponent here is also a pretty big name in the community, as far as I'm aware. We got Jay Engels, right? Leading with a very spicy Poliwhirl. So Poliwhirl recently got the the water attack, Scald, right? So yeah, he safe swaps out of the Machamp lead into a Grimer, which is pretty good for me because, you know, I got Shadow Hypno here to confusion it down. He hits me with the Sludge Bomb. I honestly didn't know the thing had Sludge Bomb because, you know, I know it has like ground moves and stuff, and I didn't think it was too strong on the poison side. At any rate, because I got the full farm down in, I get 2 Thunder Punches to throw at the Poliwhirl here, so eating up all the shields from my opponent, putting me in a pretty favorable position for the end game here. Now when it comes to Poliwhirl, I know it only has water and ground type attacks, so I bring in the Lapras to just cheese it down, completely clap this guy, dominate him in every way. Sometimes your matchups just end up that way. It's a little rock, paper, scissors. But then I consider he might have Return because it's a purified Poliwhirl. Like, he might have Return, right? And I would be the idiot to have his Lapras obliterated by a Return. So I didn't want that to happen. Turns out he didn't have it, so he just closed out the fight there and saved ourselves some trouble. But good game, once again. I'm sure you will destroy me in the future. And for our final match, we are up against Son Gohan himself from DBZ, Super Saiyan mode there with the yellow hair. I win the lead, he safe swaps to the Blastoise, and I bring in Shadow Hypno. And Shadow Hypno into Blastoise is generally a really good matchup for Hypno, especially if you won the lead and you're trying to get like swap advantage. Even more so against the Lapras since you've got Thunder Punch, right? But generally you're going to continuously outpace them, and even though they can close the fight out at a shield advantage, you get the farm down. And that farm down's pretty huge. The farm down's probably even bigger if you've got like Shadow Ball for stuff in the back too. So I generally enjoy the Blastoise safe swap. They bring back in Lapras, and I'm at 2 freaking Thunder Punches because, of course, you know, they brought in Blastoise. I took the shield disadvantage to get the big farm, and now I'm going to get that shield right back and do a ton of damage while I'm at it. And because I'm an avid Lapras user myself, I smelt in the air that surf coming, and I perfectly caught it, destroying this person, and wait, what? Oh, come on, man. What the fuck? What the fuck is this, right? Yeah, of course. I swap catch that surf beautifully, completely dominate my opponent, and my Lapras won't fucking attack. So yeah, the Lag Goblin showed up to ruin my life, as it does. Of course, when you're winning, right? I have to throw. You'd think I'm trying to farm down to payback in the end game here? No, I have to throw because they got so much farm in. And of course, it's Hypno in the end game. Come on, man. So I'm struggling here, doing the darndest I can to reach payback because God hates me and I need payback to win, and I reach it. Fucking Gohan. No shade to him. I fought him like probably like 20 times by now. When you're this high up, you like fight the same like 10-15 people every single day, and this was the only matchup I had against Gohan where we had that massive amount of lags. So don't go witch hunting Gohan here. Gohan appears to be a very nice person. I don't know him personally. You know, I ain't no Poke AK. When lag happens, it happens. And while you're mad about it in the moment, you have to understand that Gohan probably doesn't have any control over the situation either. At any rate, Payback Machamp allowed me to claw out of the depths of hell an unwinnable matchup thanks to Payback. So if that doesn't sell you on the moveset, then I can understand, because using an Elite Charge TM on a Shadow Machamp is a pretty bad idea. At any rate, that's the team. My patrons have been using it to climb the legend. I'm using it to climb up to the leaderboard. Although anybody that's this high up on the leaderboard is probably well aware that I've retired the Payback Shadow Machamp. Because as I said before, when you're fighting like the same 15 people every day, like Payback Shadow Machamp, I think they know you have Payback after a while, right? So now I'm rotating between like 3 or 4 other teams with slight variations just to keep them on their toes, right? But this team is a team that got me up there. And while I am fighting to stay up there, and I really do want to break into the 3,500 club, this team is what put me on the map. And it's getting my patrons into Legend, so might work out for you too. By the way, if you are curious about my Shadow Machamp IVs, they're nothing spectacular. Here they are. I looked at my 4 candidates and I did a quick little IV analysis on the 4 of them compared against each other, and 3 of them were basically the same. This one being one of those 3. The other one was kind of poopy, so that got kicked out. So you don't have to be too crazy about the Shadow Machamp. I guess as long as you have my defense and my HP, your Shadow Machamp's probably fine. That's all I gotta say about this team here. If you got any questions on this content, of course, comment below. Let me know. I'll be happy to help you out. If you enjoyed this kind of content, you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. Oh shoot, I don't have my end screen. Guys, so I moved stuff to my new setup, and I don't have my end screen on the new computer, so just... SwagTips. There we go. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you want to support Swagman on Patreon, link in the description.